The ACLJ is filing 6 different Freedom of Information Act requests, FOIA requests, to expose and defeat what they call this industrial scale fraud. And again, we're going to do our best to uncover these crimes. It's a great way to start. It's a great way to get involved early on. And we have a petition also that you can sign.
Right now, our team has been working. They've been working very hard on this, actually, to create 6 different FOIAs. Some are FOIAs at the federal level. Some are the sunshine laws under Minnesota, so the state level FOIA, if you will. But one is going to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Then we've got one going to the Attorney General, Keith Ellison of Minnesota. One is going to the Office of the Governor of Minnesota, currently Tim Walz. One is going to the Minnesota Department of Human Services. That is the department that all these whistleblowers have come from. We've got one going to the Minnesota Department of Children, Youth, and Families, and another one is going to the City of Minnesota. And they're all worded differently, asking for different things, obviously, because different records would be at different places. So obviously the federal level, different than the governor's office, different than the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. So the entire impetus of this is to try to get to the bottom of what kind of records already exist in some of these exposed previous fraud investigations, or ones that maybe were not investigated, but there are red flags of because of the reporting that we've been seeing coming out. So this is the ACLJ's take from the outside of the government. We know that Pam Bondi has dispatched more prosecutors to the state right now to be going over things. We know that assistant U.S. attorney said that it was the tip of the iceberg, industrial level fraud. We are also doing what we know how to do best outside of trying to get more information as well. We use the FOIA process. We know how to litigate these things when they stonewall us. So we are starting now. We're getting these out as quickly as possible, and we are going to move forward to try to see what we can uncover ourselves, knowing the terms to use, knowing the different levels to go through within these state agencies and with the federal government to find out what we can to expose more of where the balls were dropped by the state government in protecting the taxpayer dollars in Minnesota.
And you can get involved, and there's a great way to do it. Just go to aclj.org, hold Governor Tim Walz accountable for the fraud scandal. That is at aclj.org. We're trying to reach 50,000 signatures here by the end of this campaign. We do care about fraud and corruption, but it's not like we're sitting here going over what's happening in Minnesota, but it keeps growing and growing and growing. And again, I think it opens up, as Will talked about in the last segment, a much bigger discussion, which is beyond how, the fraud was happening. It's how the federal government and how the state governments spend your taxpayer dollars. And is that what we want? And as Will said, a lot of these kind of programs, addiction recovery and these kind of things, I think are incredibly necessary and important. A lot of those were funded by the church. A lot of those were funded by charitable organizations, were funded by the community directly because they felt like it was necessary. They weren't taken from your taxpayer dollars and just divvied out. Now, if you're more on that sort of social train and you think that's the way the government should run and that's how they should spend their money, look, I think there are social programs we can all get around. We all want streets that are safe. We all want to have a lot of these things that are social programs, if you will. But when it comes to stuff like this, when, at least, like you said, had the guardrails up and have better control over where the money is going, how the money is being spent, and of course, if it is being spent on people who are actually doing the good work that they say they're doing. Again, that's not to say this one specifically was not. There's just things that feel like red flags. And those red flags become a bigger issue now that we know there has been so much corruption. When you say an addiction recovery center is actually an address to a restaurant, that's not to say that they aren't meeting there. That's not to say that that isn't legitimate, but at least optically gives you a reason to question it. But again, that's the small picture. The big picture is, does this need to be where your federal funding and state funding is going in general, where your taxpayer dollars are going? Is that what you want out of your government?